What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Hopefully everyone's had a wonderful week. Congrats to all the people that won all the awesome prizes last week. That was a lot of fun, that stream. I think there's 2 people that I haven't heard from yet. Everyone else, I should have their info passed out for shipping. So if you did win something and you haven't talked to me yet, make sure you get on that. Shelly, please hit that like button. Thank you for the $3 super chat. And yes, if you guys enjoyed this, please do hit that like button. From not so sunny Florida. It's sunny, nice and sunny up in Canada today. So yeah, it's been a good day. My original guest, we had to reschedule because he was stuck at the car shop. So we're just gonna do a random Q&A live stream today. So if there's any specific questions you want to dig into, let me know and we can dig into that one. Question from John earlier. Does anyone use coral snow? And also, does anyone add yeast to the reef tanks? Coral snow kind of acts as a flocculant. I have used it in the past. It definitely does work for water clarity. If you dump it in your tank, you know, it's all cloudy, but all the little bits of chalk is going to bind those particles, and generally over a couple hours it's taken up by your filtration and you're going to have nice crystal clear water after. So it really does work well for water clarity. It's been a while since I've done it. Is there a cutoff for claiming prizes? I don't know, something reasonable. We'll give it one more week. As for that yeast, that's another one. Yeast isn't something I directly add, but I suspect it is in a lot of products like Reefroids and certain ones. And a lot of people use that as more of a coral food, a fish or a coral food. So I don't think there's any harm in adding yeast. I don't know how beneficial it is, but yeah, I speculate that a lot of coral foods have it in it. Hi from Saskatchewan. What's going on, Island Reefer? What's going on, James? Reef with me. Thanks again for last week. You're most welcome. Aquazang Garden Mark. Hello, guys. You guys are generous. Far too generous, I know. Yep. Other new fun. May or may not do a video on this one, but I did just pick up a Tunzi ATO for a nano tank that I have going. And I decided to also pick up their little Tunzi Jet, so the new pump. So the stock pump that comes with it, I have always found it fairly loud. And you know I'm obsessed with quiet. So I also decided to pick up the little Tunzi Jet pump. So I'm really curious to see how much quieter this is. Hopefully it's good. It is pretty dang tiny if you look at it. So it's a pretty small little pump. It's basically like a normal pump, but super tiny. So I don't know, probably gonna play with that over the next few days. So may or may not do a video kind of review of that setup. We shall see. But that's my newest little bit of toys to play with. 50F in Washington. Do I know anyone in Neptune? Yeah, I would just call back to their support, man. I know you can call them or email them, but I'll have to do that one. NSB Reefer, thank you again. My gift will be here tomorrow. Heck yeah, you are most welcome. I'm still using Calcster. I haven't been able to increase my pH without elk getting too high. I have the Calcster as well as the hydroxide elks that I'm dosing, boosting pH in my tank, as well as soda lime pellets. So I have a whole myriad of stuff on the water box to elevate my pH. Calcster, yes, absolutely do. If you are using calc in it, make sure it is like a decent quality calc. If you're just using like the super cheap industrial stuff, it tends to be like bagged in like a, you know, the big brown type of bag, and it's more exposed to oxygen. If calc isn't sealed, it will lose potency over time. So you want to make sure, however your calc is, you keep it fairly well sealed. So that's one thing. So if your calc's really old, it might not be as potent as it used to be. Also, if possible, dose as much as you can. As much as you're evaporating, run that through your Calcster. Dianicus Reef. I do yeast, but not consistently for addition. As far as marine snow, I use calcite chalk if wanting a flocculant to polish the water. Yeah, it's basically chalk. I'm setting up a 2-gallon Pico, nice little dinky one. Shallow tank with a tidal power filter. My first ever Pico. Any tips on starting and cycling? If you have another reef tank, you will make your life very easy by stealing a bit of rock or some filter media out of your main tank. Even a handful of sand will go a long way to cycling it. If you are setting up a fresh new tank, I mean, it's gonna avoid a lot of those extra cycles that you go through, the nasties and the uglies. It'll definitely minimize it. Sodium hydroxide, yes, that is the one. But yeah, so for a Pico, since I'm assuming you have a bigger reef tank already, if you're able to steal some cycled aged meat out of it, it's just gonna make your Pico, cycle very, very quickly. And it does go a long way. About to switch to isolate calc. Yeah, I'm using two little fishies right now. I've kind of alternate between that and the BRS Pharma. What's your opinion on Alpha Reef? I have never used Alpha Reef, but I think it's a super cool product because it's everything in one solution. I am going to do I have a little 14-ish gallon nano on my desk I'm setting up, and I might just do kind of like a clown nem tank or softies, or like an easier tank. And again, if I start dosing on that one, I'm probably going to try Alpha Reef because it's for a small tank. It's just one dosing head, everything's super easy, which I think is really cool. Mark, I find calc messy and inconsistent with saturation. If you do a calc stir, it does work pretty well to keep it at max saturation, but again, that max saturation point, your pH will slowly fade. So I find roughly every 10 or so days, I'll add another half a cup scoop to my reactor, just to kind of freshen up and boost it back up to max saturation. Victor, I saw your review about the Reefbot lab. It'll be awesome video about its reliability, measuring the same water with different methods like ICP. About its reliability, I mean, it's been a year and it's been going strong. So reliability 1 year in so far has been solid. Comparing it to ICP tests, in one of my early videos, I don't know if it was a 5 or 6 month or whatever it was, or initial one, but at some point I did compare with ICP tests and it was reasonably close. So overall I was pretty happy with what it. Aquazen Garden, I have a 2-gallon Pico jar for my bumblebee shrimp. Yeah, I think in my little nano, I'm trying to debate what I'm going to put in it, but I might literally just do some nano fish or maybe some clowns and a Colorado sunburst or something, just some really bright cool nem, and then I might do a bunch of really cool stuff. I've been thinking the sexy shrimp and the glass shrimp, the anemone shrimp with little white dots on them, and just I don't know, pom-pom crabs. It's all the really cool little inverts that you could get lost in or eaten in a big tank. Roy is reefing, setting up a 32-gallon Edison cycle. Nice. My little one's been cycling for about three weeks now, so it's probably pretty much close to done by now. Mark, do you have any experience with Aquaforce Life Source? Yes. Aquaforce Life Source, that's what I gave away last week, isn't it? I believe it is. That is the filter media, I believe. Or is that the mud? So there's the mud version, which I do have in the refugium on my water box, which I might actually should add some new stuff at some point. And then the Life Source, I believe, is the filter media, which I'm actually probably going to throw some of that in my nano as well. Anthony, would you consider doing a video on sodium hydroxide dosing formula? I've been using them from the past. Randy's formula, no YouTuber seems to want to give advice on it. I'm using close to Randy's formula. I have my own versions that are kind of a derivative of it, but I've been hesitant to directly give advice and mixing instructions because it is nasty stuff and it's something that you don't want someone to be careless with, right? It is very caustic. You could melt your skin with it probably if you left it in there for a couple minutes. You got to be extra cautious with it. It's wearing goggles. You got to be safe with it. That's probably the main reason I know a lot of people haven't directly given advice on how to use it. So I don't know. I've talked to a few people, but I haven't directly publicly said how to mix it, how to use it at different strengths and kind of what to expect from it. Maybe at some point. But I'm going to use Alpha Reef as soon as my tank is cycled. Yeah, I think this is actually a great excuse for Alpha Reef. I might go down that road as well. Remember the Mindstream auto testing dial? I seem to recall news about Reefbot before that too. Yeah, so the Mindstream actually, it looked pretty cool, but it kind of had that subscription model where you got to buy your little disc every month, but it tests a lot of stuff, so it was kind of cool. No, it's the mud. Yes, okay. So with the Aquaforce mud, I did mix Miracle Mud and the Aquaforce mud into the refugium on my water box. And in my mind, I kind of saw it as more of a trace element store in a way. So if your tank's lacking something, it can pull the nutrients from there, whatever element is missing. Now, I do think at some points you do kind of want to replenish it to re-add some of those nutrients in, so it's on my to-do list, but I do think there is definitely some benefit using it. Why are snails so expensive? Can hobbyists breed them? Yeah, they have seemed to got more expensive these days. Barnacle blendings are cool. Heck yeah, they are. They definitely are. Anyone with a mixed reef with wrasses and stripies? Definitely lots of wrasses. I haven't tried stripies yet. I've heard really good things. They're supposed to be awesome for Aptasia. Haven't personally tried one yet, but most people I know that use them seem to like them, so they seem cool. It's dangerous, but I dose it. Yeah, so you just, if you're using any hydroxides other than kelp, like, you need to be pretty careful of it. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, barnacle blendings are cool. That might be a fun one to add to the tank. Oh yeah, so if you guys have any really cool nano creatures that would do well, let me know. I'm still debating on the game plan for this one, but I think it'd be fun. Cherubras. Have to Google that now. Oh, that's a cool looking wrasse. Kirahabrus. I'm not even saying that right. From what I understand, the mud feeds pods and microfauna. It does that as well. So if you do have a refugium, you know, you do have your ponds, you have all those little creatures, there's definitely a spot for them to live and snack on stuff. What skimmers are you running? I have a Nios 160 and a Nios 220, and I recently picked up a Bubble King 200 that I've been playing with. So that's my current load of skimmers, and I have another broken Bubble King that I'm gonna try and fix. So that's on the current Docker. Do you automatic water change on all of your tanks? Any good ideas how to hide large containers? Yes, I have one tank I was doing auto water changes for quite a while. I haven't been doing it for a bit because I ran out of salt, and it's been on my to-do list to get it going again, so I probably will in the near future. What am I drinking? This is a very tasty rum. Bamboo craft rum, that's what it's called. Super tasty. Considering getting back into the reefing game, I really like the Peninsula style. Would you stick with Waterbox or go with another tank manufacturer? I have been very happy with the Waterbox. You know, in the past I might have said Red Sea, but I've seen a lot of issues with their tanks, like seams busting, and recently a local shop, actually one of their seams on their Red Sea tank, you know, blew out. So I'm a little bit hesitant, to be honest, with that one. I've used them for nanos and they're really nice tanks, and it basically would have been a toss-up between Waterbox or Red Sea, but from personal experience on larger systems, I've been very happy with the Waterbox, so I wouldn't hesitate to do them again. So that's probably what I would recommend on that front. What ended up happening with your flaming prawn goby? It eventually disappeared on me. I had him in a 20-gallon nano, Red Sea, since we're talking about it, and love tasty rum. It's very tasty. I would recommend the Bamboo Craft rum, the original one. Flaming prawn goby was in my Red Sea 20-gallon, and he was in there for quite a while. Super elusive, and I honestly only ever saw him once a week. He hit all the time. But he eventually disappeared on me. I don't know if he bit the dust. I don't know if it happened to be a rock flower. If he jumped, I have no idea what happened to him. But he was very elusive, so it was kind of hard to keep track. And then eventually I just haven't seen him in quite a while. Have you seen the post about Waterbox being Arabia tanks? I don't know. I've never even heard of Arabia tanks, to be honest. I don't know who makes them, but they seem very high quality and they've been solid, so I'll take it. Either way, I have been happy with them. Avoid the ones from the same complex, especially the same subgroup. Yeah, that goes with a lot of fish, actually. There's lots of them that are more punks towards their self, but they're still fine with other species. Lost a Red Sea 170, got a new water box. Aluminum frame is sketchy, bad design. I don't have an aluminum frame one. I think the extruded aluminum frames are super cool because you could add on to it. You know, you want to mount some stuff in the back, you just add on another bar of T-nuts. Like, that aspect is super cool. Mine's more the older style. I got the marine plywood stand. So, but it's been solid. It's been good. You know, the hinges, the doors, like everything's held up really, really well. When upgrading to a bigger tank, will the new one cycle again, transferring everything from a 75 to a 180? Thomas the cat, you will have a mini cycle. You won't have a full cycle, but if you're moving all of your rock into the new tank, you're bringing all that goodness bacteria with you. I generally will use new sand when I do a tank, just because the old sand's always really dirty and nasty, and by the time you kill it, you're going to kill off your bacteria anyways. So I tend to just get new sand when I do a tank, but I think you'll have a mini cycle, but it won't be too bad. If you want to be extra safe, you can always buy some bottle bacteria and dump it in as well as just a bit of an extra safety net. And I have done that as well in the past. Mark, love my water box 4820, but I have an older version before they took over the third door and the extra long sump. Okay, yeah. I think mine's probably one of the older versions, to be honest. They're awesome. Unpainted ends. Interesting. How to take apart and paint bare aluminum. Painting aluminum is a pain. Throwing that out there. It's doable, but you need to get a special primer that etches the aluminum before you can paint it. So I guess it's not a pain, it's more expensive because there's more steps and more primers, special primers that you gotta buy. What's the best time of the day to feed your corals? I find they tend to be a little more responsive near lights out for me than they do in the middle of the day. Like I tend to get more polyp extension. I half speculate because the fish are more going to bed then and there's less fish picking at it. There is stuff like Polyp Lab has like a, I don't know if they call it Polyp Boost or what it is, but they have something, it has like amino acid stuff in there and it kind of helps trigger the feeding response of corals. So you could use something like that as well and then try feeding them. Do you have your light schedule posted? Oh, I sure do. If you Google or ReefDudes Mobius schedule or ReefDudes Radeon schedule, you should find it. I did post the Mobius file that I exported in the description of one of my prior videos and possibly on my website. And if you have XR30s, you should be able to find it within Fusion if you're using the MXM module. If you're using other lights, I still got to bribe Paul to migrate that profile to the rest of the options. Actually, I can use my XR15s of this tank to reshare it. I'll try that. I hope you enjoyed your birthday. I did. Thank you very much, Mark. Benny the Blenny ain't fat like Winnie. Alright. No idea what you're going with that one, but Blenny's a super cool fish. Barnacle Blenny's is actually a good one that I may have to add to my little nano tank. I use the booster, but no signs of dosing many of the goods. What is the best placement for a torch or hammer coral? Best placement really depends on your tank. A few considerations. Hammers, you're pretty flexible. As long as you're not getting blasted with flow, they're generally pretty happy. Torches, you got to look out for the tentacles, especially if a long tentacle torch, because they can go pretty dang far. And you got to make sure your flow's not blowing into another coral that's going to kill. That's a big consideration. Generally, kind of lower moderate flow is fine for most Euphilia. And same thing, lighting, usually any lower mid's usually fine for them. I wouldn't want to be blasting with crazy high power or flow. Aside from that, you're pretty flexible on where you put Euphilia in your tank. What type of heater controller or heater element do you use? Any recommendations? Winnie the Pooh. Good old Winnie the Pooh. Alright. I'm currently using the BRS titanium heating elements on both tanks. On one tank, I have the BRS controller, which is basically whatever that brand is. Same as the other brand you buy off Amazon, but the BRS branded version of it. On one tank, and the other one I have a Ranco, which is like the old school, more industrial controller. And I have each one of those have dual heaters on it, and they're both either two 250 watt or two 300 watts. So two half-side heaters into a heater controller. And then I have that plugged into the Apex power bar as like a backup. Inkbird, thank you. Yeah, so it's basically, the BRS one's basically the Inkbird rebranded with some tweaks to it. So either one. So I do have an Inkbird controller somewhere. I do have the BRS one somewhere. This one I'm using the Ranco with the dual heaters. And then I also have Eheim heater, my little nano beside me that you guys haven't quite seen yet, but eventually I'll show that one off. And yeah, so a bit of a spread on that one. Whatever you use, like as long as you're using heater controller, I think it goes a long way. How are you liking the Bubble King you got from right? I haven't used that one yet. So I have this very awesome Bubble King that I was gifted, which I much appreciated, but it needs a bit of love. It's missing some parts, so I will eventually be using this beast, but it needs a new impeller and a new volute and some parts that I have on order, so I'm waiting for all that stuff to show up. So eventually, once I get them, it'll be good. Haven't had an Inkbird film yet. Honestly, the Inkbirds have been pretty solid. Some people have issues connecting it up with the Wi-Fi. And I had a similar issue when I was originally playing with the Wi-Fi version. What I found is with that, they have to, one, for some stupid reason, I don't know why, but you need to allow it to have location services enabled in order for it to find it. I have no idea why stuff needs location services to find a Wi-Fi device that's 2 feet away from it, but that seems to be the case. I, by default, turn off a lot of that stuff on my phone because most apps shouldn't need to know where I am. You know, they just want to waste your battery too from a privacy perspective. I'm like, why do you care? So, but once you pair it, then it didn't seem to matter. But that was something that I noticed up front, is just kind of one of those things. Chili Willy's Reef, thank you for the super chat. Knowledge is great, but sometimes not free. Y'all give a little. Thank you, Chili Willy. Appreciate it, buddy. What's your favorite acro in your tank? I really like Orange Passion. I think the blue and yellow and stuff really, really cool. Walt Disney's super slow grower, but one day it will be cool. Most of the time the Millies, I just love the big shaggy polyps. Like anything bright and shaggy is a winner in my books for that. Chili Willy's Reef, thank you, man, appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna go with those as my favorites. Yeah, there's lots of cool tenuouses, but I don't know, the shaggy polyps, just Millies. Like one day I'm tempted to do a tank of nothing but Millies. Just a whole Chewbacca shaggy tank would be pretty awesome. Have an ending bird? Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually had a heater controller fail on me. Like overall, they've been pretty solid. I haven't even had a heater necessarily fail on me either. I've never had one stick on. I think I've had some not turn on, or so at least they've always failed off, which is the better solution. But I would, you know, advise everyone on a heater controller. That being said, I don't have one on my Nano beside me yet, but I guess I'll have to add one day. Good reminder to ourselves. What's going on, Dr. Welsh of Magic? What else we got for new fun stuff here? I just got my package in the mail today. No, it was exciting. New flipper braids. Woohoo! Fish Ventura. Point me in the right direction. With Apex, want O3 to run only with skimmer, but only 5 minutes per hour. I can't figure it out on that one either. Okay. You want your ozone to only run when the skimmer is on? Let's do that. Okay, so with that one, fall back off, set off, and then I'd use the oscillation command to turn it on for 5 minutes every 60 minutes, and then I'd have a line that says if skimmer off, then off. Let me see if I can find you that code even. Thank you for the super chat. John, tuition fee, 20 bucks. Thank you, sir. Much, much appreciated. Let me appreciate you guys very much. Thank you. Let me pull up my Apex Fusion and see if we can figure out how to do that one for you quickly. Let me get logged in. I'll see if I can do some screen sharing. Of course, I can't remember my Apex username, so let me quickly double check that. Or my password, rather. For you guys that don't know, I do IT as my other job, so I've become very wise and never use passwords anymore, which sometimes you gotta double check what the heck you use for which one, because there's a lot of them out there. IT lesson, don't reuse passwords. Okay, water box. Let's see if I can do some screen sharing. Okay, so do I have oscillation command on anything? So you want yours to only turn on for so many minutes. Let's do skimmer on, confuses me. Give me 1 second. So let's just do, I'm gonna do new virtual outlet so I don't mess with any of my current outlets, but so if you never use a virtual outlet, these things are super duper handy. Let me make this smaller so it fits. But there you go, just put it in there. So go in here, add new virtual outlet, test O3. So virtual outlets are like a fake plug, and you can kind of use them to add steps to different things, which makes it really, really cool. So now I got a new tile. All right, so you only want 5 minutes every hour. Okay, so set off, I'd say if skimmer equals off, then off, or if output skimmer off. Again, adjust whatever yours is. So basically do that for the skimmer, and then I would use the OSC command. And I'm just double checking the syntax for it, but it's like initial on time, then off time, I believe. Okay, yeah, so it's basically like that. So OSC, and then you would want 0, 0. There you go, like this. All right, so you want it to be on for 5 minutes and then off for 55 minutes. I think that's basically what you would do on yours. So your ozone would be off, and you want, this is initial off time, so initially it's off, then it's on for 5 minutes, then it's off for 55 minutes, and then it's cycle back to on for 5 minutes again. And then if your skimmer's off, then it's off. There you go. So that's how I do your ozone for 5 minutes every hour. So hopefully that one helps. Screenshot it, write that down. Again, change it to whatever your skimmer name is, but that would definitely do the job. Uh-oh. And we're back, left my intro on. So hopefully that one helped there, Fishy Ventura. Good timing, I had my second heater failure. Ooh, that's nasty. What type of heater was it, Dr. Welsh? I'm curious. 2 days ago, putting on my new Tiger Gobi tank. Felt finger warm. I was at 25, so 29. Still rising. Yeah, definitely pull that heater out. What's the best purchase you've made for your tank? Not the most expensive? This is a hard question because it really, really depends. Yeah, so Fish Ventura, here, I'll put it in the chat for you. Best, it's really hard to say. What would be my best one? I mean, an auto top off is essential because, again, I've had a nano tank on my desk for 3 weeks, and you know, every couple days I'm putting 2 deli cups worth of water into it to top it off. Hence me finally ordering another ATO. So I mean, an ATO just seems essential to keep stuff stable. As for best, I don't know. There's lots of quality of life things. Like, I love having auto testers. I love not having to test alkane, calcium, and mag and all that stuff every week. Like, that is really nice. But again, they're not cheap. They're nice to house. Yeah, it's hard to say. Depends what you want. I can give you lots of reasons for why I do like a lot of the random stuff. Reef V2 had an 8-head Hellfire Torch colony shrink and die. Only noodle I've had to checked out for no reason. The rest are fine. Anything. Man, bacteria. I had a massive colony of Dragon Soul, and again, I had them slowly fading on me. And I did the whole KFC dip, which is the amoxicillin and Cipro, basically. And it might have even been chemiclean in that one. And it did stop the recession. Like, it didn't necessarily, like, miracle savior, but it stopped it from receding. Instead of it all fading away, at least, you know, I still have a handful of heads that look good. So that's one of the things. Apex is a lot of work. You know, honestly, it's not bad. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with Apex. I find it one of the easier ones to set up. Again, I've had it the longest. That probably plays into it, but... Eric Rod. I started a new UB bulb supply distribution company. Direct to hobbyist. Huh, sweet. Any on marketing to hobbyist. Don't want to be out of line. Looking for a launch strategy. I don't know. Message me later. We can talk. But I would just say ideally you want to test her out on a bunch of reef tanks and see how the results are and see how the bulbs perform first. I do that. Hydros is a lot easier for some stuff. For basic stuff, I would say Hydros is easy, but I would argue the same with Neptune because they got tasks for everything. For more advanced stuff, I find the coding in the Apex easier for some things, where the Hydros, I know, like, there's some things I wanted to do and it was a bugger to get to work, but I did eventually. I don't know. I'll give Hydros another chance at one point. I did definitely use it for a while, but I don't know. I'd had a lot of issues with the Wi-Fi stuff. Now, I talked to some other people about this too, and I have more of an advanced network at my house, which might have played into it. Someone else I was talking to was saying it doesn't plays nice with like Wi-Fi 6 or a lot of the newer stuff. It plays a lot nicer with the older stuff. No, I have more like business type because I work in IT, so I have more businessy IT related stuff in my house, and that might have played into why it had some weirdness, but I don't know. We'll see. If I do it again, though, I'm going to do the wired version. I had the same thing with torches happen. Apparently, there was Vibro around bacteria from suppliers that were attacking torches. Well, that's the whole reason of the whole bacteria thing, like the KFC dip, right? You're using antibacterial pills basically for people or animals on your corals, which are an animal, and it's basically killing off all the bacteria to kind of fight back whatever is making it recede. Reef Exotico by Lewis. Just got my first batch of elements from Reef Moonshiners. Must have watched your stream with Andre like 3 times. Any plans to have him back? Yes, actually. I talked to him about it a while ago. He's on my future to-do list. I have probably next week or two, I'm going to have Chubbingsham Reef Ryan on again. He was supposed to come on today, but he was trapped at a car appointment, so we decided to bump it to a future week. I will also bug Andre about the shine, because that'd be a fun one to do again as well. He's a good fountain of knowledge, so get used to what you have. I have an XP8, and I believe you had a Wi-Fi strip. Yeah, so I think I had the XP8. I'm terrible at all the model numbers, but yeah, I would definitely do the wired if I was to do it again personally. But that's just because my Wi-Fi and that it would work great for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then my power bar would drop off. But again, these are like the cheap like $40 power bars. So Hydros released an update a while back, took care of most of those issues. Okay, I don't know, still have it in the shed. I will dig it out and try it again one day. Antibiotics, yes. Yeah, antibiotics, honestly, for torches, that's been the only surefire thing that's seemed to stop recession. Now, if it's sucked inwards, that could likely a fish, something's annoying it. If there's a flesh ban on your torches receding upwards, where the flesh is starting to suck into the mouth, then that's where I find the antibiotics will help it. So it kind of depends on your situation and what it is. But you know, if the torches are just not having the tentacles out, that could be a pest, it could be a fish pecking at it. It's usually something's physically annoying it on that aspect. Jake, I had total reef failure, rear glass shattered. Ooh, 90 gallons of water, dead fish, coral over. How to convince the wife front tank? That's a hard one, man. I'm sorry to hear that, Jake. That does suck. Well, I mean, if you still have all your fish and coral that survive, then I mean that's a very easy excuse for a new tank. But I don't know if it was a new tank that you had or a used tank, but I mean that's a good justification to go for a new tank. Yeah, it's tricky. That sucks. It's tricky with the wife, but if it's something you love and you're passionate about, I mean, hopefully that will sell it on itself. I don't think Hydros has a wired option, but you can hook up a Wi-Fi extender and have it in your cabinet. They don't have a wired thing, but they had the one where the brain was built into the power bar, and it worked as like a collective. And I think that's the way I would personally go. Just because the Wi-Fi power strips, they would work, and then they would just like drop off and stop responding, and then stuff wouldn't work properly, and they got old after a while. Tell her for therapy over losing your fish. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, man. That does suck. I recently, a week or two ago, LFS, one of their display tanks, same thing, I seen busted. I'm like, couldn't imagine that, having, your 100+ gallons of water. It sucks. That happened to me, a tank crack with a 30-gallon bent glass tank. And I think it was just a stress crack from them bending the glass, and eventually when it shattered and 30 gallons on the floor was bad enough. But yeah, I would definitely do a new tank. If you can, overkill it. If you do a custom tank, again, I would just overkill all those seams and stuff. I've kind of got to that point now where I just overkill everything. John Wright, what antibiotics and what to use? If you watch a stream that I did a while back, or a video of the KFC dip, that was a good one to do. There's also, forget the name, but there's some kind of an acid that's used in ponds that supposedly works well as a similar steel. I haven't personally tried it. I was talking to Fry Garage Adam about it, and he was trying out some stuff. So next time I'm on the stream, I'll bring that one up with him in the next couple weeks. Waterbox needs a 380.4 Peninsula. Yeah, I do love the peninsulas. It is a good way to go. Dun, dun. Yeah, what else? I still, on the controller note, I still have to get my GHL rolling again. That one's been neglected for a bit. Finny, if you're watching, I still got to send that baby in. I had mine working, but it was the USB wasn't working with the computer to do some of the advanced programming, so I'm gonna ship that in and get it figured out. Huge colonies behind your head. Why, yes, they are. They're more like fist size in real life, but a little macro video I shot of it. That's what we call the mothership. Hammers. Vishventure, an RO system leak at night. Ooh, plumbed water under hardwood all night long. Floor is gone. It's not always the tank. So true. I have, over the years, really become a fan of leak sensors. There has been another, thank you, oxalonic acid. That's the one, Josh. Thank you. I think that also has some solid potential as a bit of an antibacterial dip. I have not personally used it. I still need to research it. But yeah, oxalonic acid. That's the one I was referring to. Josh is on it. So yeah. Leak sensors. I have definitely become more and more a fan of them over the year. I've been slowly buying and adding more. Like I have 3 RO systems in my house, and I have one on the floor under this RO. I have one on the basement by my laundry one. I have one by my calcium reactor. I have another one by all my auto testers. I have another one by like another water container. So I've been slowly putting these things like all over the place. So I definitely think it is 100% worth it. Spelling above probably not correct. Yeah, that's okay. All these technical scientific names are terrible. Spell check doesn't appreciate them either. Diacanthus Reef. I've had a scene go on a glass tank. Terrible experience. It really would be. Could try an acrylic tank. Leery of glass. Acrylic is so clear and looks nice and it's lighter. A ton of advantages, but I've honestly always been scared about scratches. Scratches scare me. I have nightmares about scratches. Mark, Devin, will there ever be a ReefDudes controller being an IT? I actually built a controller before I had a real controller in my early days. I used Arduino and I found some open source project for a sprinkler controller, which I adapted to a Reef controller. And I had the whole thing inside of the power bar, and I had auto feeders hooked up to it and all kinds of stuff I could program. But then I got to the point where I was like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to add pH, NOR, Pre, and salinity and all these probes to it. But the little Atlas stamps for all those things were like 100 something each. And I'm like, by the time I spend like $400 on these little add-ons, I'm like, I just ended up buying a used controller. But I did definitely dabble in that for a while there. Mark, my go-to is ChemiClean and iodine bath, separate baths. Yeah, so ChemiClean, kind of sort of antibiotic, not quite, but has semi-ish properties, so that can definitely work for bacterial infections. Same with iodine, actually. So if you are in the UK and you have less access to, Amox or Cipro, then that could be a good way to go. I knew it. Yeah. Dude, okay. Speaking of building your own stuff, before I was even in reef tanks, I was into freshwater planted tanks. So I was like really hardcore, I love the planted tanks, and I have little shrimps and big tanks and high-tech tanks. So like before I even had a reef tank, I had CO2 tanks and I was injecting CO2. Oh, you are home, Adam. What's going on, buddy? We were just talking about oxalinic acids, like you heard us. So before I got into the reef tanks, I was in a freshwater tanks because we were talking about building your own controller. So I ended up building my own doser, and I don't even think dosers were a thing then, at least not at the hobby level. So I bought like little pump heads in Arduino, and I built my own dosing. So I started dosing all like the fish ferts for all the plants. So definitely have the DO aspect out there. All right, Adam, what do we think? I'm toying if I keep the stream going or if I cut her a little bit short today because I still got to do some house painting. So we'll see. Or Canadian, not as much access to meds here. Yeah, it is definitely a little trickier for us, Mark. They're out there, but they're definitely tricky. Like, you can do stuff like ask a vet if you're friendly with one and tell them it's for your fish tank, and if they're nice and loving, then maybe they'll help you out there. Weird thing shorted out at GFCI. Apex didn't notify about a leak, was only notified Apex lost connection. Maybe you lost connection before I had a chance to notify you. I know there's probably like a 10-50 second delay there, but yeah, that's an interesting one. I actually have one of my GFCI plugs that's been super flaky, like it's been tripping. I don't know why on it. And it was doing that with actually the skimmer that I had, the Bubble King one. So I don't know if it's a different load, but so I'm gonna swap out that GFCI outlet because I think something's flaky going on with it. All right, Adam, I would suck you in, but I think I'll go for like hours, and I gotta get a few things done today still. Jake, get 12 volt DC adapter and keep it on. Oh, I'm gonna throw this one out there. If anyone is hardcore about a tank battery backup, I just Amazon Prime Day. I think it's for 2 days. Might need me today, but I bought a 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery, which is freaking huge, but it's mini. It's the small version of it, and this thing is gonna be a sweet battery backup. Oh, it's still on sale too. I'm just double checking. This is if you guys are hardcore. It's $100 off right now. This is the Amazon Canada. I don't know what the deal is in the US. Probably cheaper, but it is $100 off. And I've been eyeing these batteries for a while. So it is a 12.8 volt, so 100 amp hour battery backup. Or a battery, which I'm going to use it for my office tank for all my pumps. And that's, I believe for instance, the Ecotech battery backup I use is 18 amp hours, and this is 100. So it's, 5.5, 6-ish of those equivalents. So I'm going to use this one and hook it up to all of my MP40s and possibly even my M1 M2s. It should run them for, a week. So I think that's going to be pretty sweet. I don't even think I'm going to run, Waterfish. I don't even think I'm going to run an inverter on this one. I think I'm just going to directly hook it up to the battery backup ports because you get more runtime. It's more efficient out of it. So, I don't know. This was, not the cheapest thing in the world, but it's $100 off for Prime Day. So, I don't know if anyone's feeling high rolling. I think that is a sweet battery because it is tiny for how much power it holds. And it's like their mini version. I don't know if it's like a special run or what, but the size is kind of what sold me on it. So that's a lot of amp hours, and those batteries will last you forever, basically, right? They're 15,000 cycles or 10 plus years. They're still gonna have 80%. So that's gonna be like future project incoming, but like sweet battery backup. And Adam, if you're hardcore, buddy, I know since you're on here, I know you're talking about doing a 48 or 24 volt battery backup. You can buy 2 of those, run them in series, and have like a really crazy battery backup that would last a long time, especially if you have a farm. So food for thought. Basic question. Mohammed AI Reefer. I want to grow SPS, specifically trying to grow Montipora, but heard they can behave like pests and increase over rockscapes and other SPS. Best placement or aquascape solution. Okay, so Monty's absolutely will grow over many things. Now, most of them will plate outwards. So put it lower in your tank, because if you have coral here and it plates up below it, not as big of a deal. If you put it up high and it starts to shade all your corals, that's more of an issue. So that's a big consideration. Personally, lower third of the tank, so they're not going to shadow anything that's really important. And if you want to make your life easier, put it on a rock or something you can move around. That way, if it does get too big, it's easy to take it out and frag it back or move it around. So that's probably what I would do for Monty's. I've also found like the green and the reds, the standard purple ones, they grow way too fast. I personally wouldn't do a tank with them in it now. I tend to I have a grafted one now, and I just do like kind of the fancier ones that grow a bit slower. But just know, like a red or a green, they grow really fast. So really plan your placement out. NSB Reefs. I'd run in parallel and boost to 24 volt. I have thought about that. I only bought 1 battery. I'm too poor for 2. But I have debated that because there's stuff like Neros and stuff that are 24 volt. And you could just run your Neros directly off of the 24 volt battery, and you could put a maintainer on it and have it always charging, and you'd basically have a built-in battery backup, and you could wire up all your 24 volt stuff to it. So with 2 of them, you could definitely do something cool like that. So lots of really cool things. But yeah, so definitely some good food for thought on that one there, Mohammed. Best halides to put on a 6 foot 180 tank. that has 3 XR30 G6 Pros quad strips reef price. I don't know if I would be swapping what you already have to go to halides, because you already have a pretty sweet setup. I think you're already good to go, to be honest. Halides, I don't know if I go back. Like, they take a lot of power, and they make a lot of heat. Yes, they do grow well, and they do look nice, but there's a lot of considerations on that one. I don't know. I'm so out of the loop on halides. It's been years since I've looked at them. I cannot comment. I'm all in on LEDs these days. Reef with me. If I'm using bioblocks in my 2-gram Pico, do I still need nitrifying bacteria? The main display rock will. Put your bioblocks into the sump of your main display for a few weeks before you put them to your Pico to fully seed them, and then you'll be pretty dang good. Good heads up on the batteries. Yeah, Adam, if you do want them, they're on Prime Day sale, which I think ends at midnight. So today is the day if you want them. And you're talking 24 volt. So 2 of those, I mean, it's going to cost you like $600-700, but that would be 24 volts at 100 amp hours. That's going to last you like 15 plus years. So it's a pretty sweet way to go. Like, I know like the Hydros and some of them do make them, but they have a much smaller, actually I don't think they have a built-in battery. I don't know if they work with lithium iron phosphate or not, but it's really easy to put a connector on it, hook it up directly. So food for thought. I bought one and I'm going to run 12 volt just for all my stuff on my office tank. But if you want to run I'm running 12 volt. If you want to run 24 volt, then you'd want to. But food for thought. That's the cheapest I've seen. If there's a really cool like price tracker thing you can do from Amazon, I put it in there. It's the cheapest they've ever been. So that's what sold me on it. Last day Amazon Big Prime Day ends today. Yep, exactly. So that was my splurge. Marcus, I purchased leak detectors for Apex. Not sure how to add in the code to it. Oh, I can show you that. Let's look at some leak sensors. Super duper easy on that one. Let's go. So what I do with most of my leak sensors, I'll add them into my alarm code. So right now they're off, but you know, I have an email alarm and LED alarm. You should never leave your alarms in off state. Bad practice. But if I go into say the LED alarm, so basically if my email alarm's on, my LED alarm's on, this is the one that lights up my roof. In my email alarm, I add all my leak sensors in here. So if there's the leak sensors by my calcium reactor, if my top off container is too high, if there's the leak sensor by the Mastertronic, mix leak alarm. So again, I have another one down by my mixing station. So I put all mine in here. So basically just if whatever the sensor name is closed, then on. So super duper easy to add in the leak sensors. Now, one really cool thing that I did, where are they? Radions. Okay, I'll show it with profiles. Did I not do it on this tank? Radion, yeah. Oh, so one really cool thing. If you look into here on my, if you have an MXM module, this is just like kind of a really cool thing. So if the alarm mode, I have a profile that's just 20% red. So I have an LED strip on top of my light bar that will light up the ceiling of my roof if it's in alarm mode. But now I also create the red profile so that I can have my radions turn red, my whole tank goes red. So if there's a leak or something in alarm mode, I can have my whole tank turn red. So like you literally can't miss it. It's food for thought, but if you have an MXM module, it's a really cool way to do it. What's going on for Brooklyn? What type of backup battery do you like? Lithium ion. Since we were just talking about it, let me pull it back up. On my main tank, I have full screen. So on my main tank, I have some really old batteries that I got for free. I just bought these yesterday, you can see, but I bought these guys because this is going to be my newest battery backup. It is 12 volt 100 amp hours, which is freaking tons of power, which is sweet. And if you look at the size comparison, it is tiny. So I can hide in my tank. Like the normal ones were much bigger. This one's like the mini version. So that was my big selling point. And if just one other bit of fun while we're at it, if we pop it into Amazon Price Tracker, which I always do on things, if it loads, and we go back for the last year, month. Well, yeah, if you go back and look at, this is Canadian, mind you, so, it was up to 469, 479. So if you go back and look over the history of it, this is the cheapest it's ever been. So that's been my kind of selling feature on that one. For proper preparation leads to the perfect performance. What's happening, man? What room are you painting? Who's painting it up? Actually, completely random note, my wife is painting a very cool underwater mural in the kids' room, which I'll post a photo of that on Instagram or something soon. It's like 80% done. Actually, outside of the house, I painted most of it, but there's one side that's like the high peak triangle I still got to paint, and it's been bothering me, and I need to finish it before it gets cold. So that's what I gotta do, and the days are getting shorter, so I'm probably going to do that soon. Big discounts on trickle charger right now also. Yeah, I did buy a 20 amp charger as well, which I'm going to use for it. What type of backup battery? So for anything new, I'm a fan of lithium iron phosphate because they last a long time. That whole like 10 plus years are supposed to be guaranteed, 80% of their life, so in 10 years from now, if it still works as an 80 amp hour backup, that's still awesome. So that's the way I would go for anything new. On my other tank, I do have some solar hooked up to 447 hour lead batteries that are like 10 years old, but they still work. And that's what I'm using to back up my MP60s, my big tank. And then this will be the new one that I'm building for the office tank once I get the rest of my goodies in a bit. Bio bricks have been in established sun for 2 years. Oh yeah, you'll be set. No need for nitrifying bacteria. I would honestly say you'll probably have enough bacteria from your biomedia. It doesn't hurt to add it, but you probably can get away without it. The nano tank beside me, I dumped in a bottle of Dr. Tim's. I used live sand. Have the Life Rock in there, which has some bacteria on it. And then I took the media bag that came with it, threw it in my sump. It's been there for a few weeks. So I'm cycling it on its own, but then I'm also going to add in all that media that's been in my big tank for a month or whatever, and then add it in when I actually add livestock, because it's that extra level. So I think it'll be good. All right, guys. I think I am going to cut her pretty quick. Do I have a lot of power going down? Normally, no. This is the funny thing. I bought that Ankler battery backup from Costco when it was on sale in there. Literally 3 or 4 days later, I had a power outage. And then a few days later, I had another power outage again. Then I haven't had any in ages. So normally I don't. However, we also had a bunch of forest fires this year. And on the opposite side of the lake, there was some people that had no power for like a week because of forest fires. So I personally normally don't, but I've seen stuff happening all around me, and I've had a couple consecutive smaller ones for a bit there, and then so it's all these little things that where like I see buddies that have a reef tank and they don't, they can't get to the house for the week and they don't know what's up with their tank, and all these things have make me think, I'm like, okay, that's it. If I, it kind of sucks to spend a few $100 on some of these, but at the same time, if it ever happens, then I know I'm covered. And just especially if you build a system that is going to last 10, 15 plus years, if I have a cabin in the wood Wednesdays, bring my battery up there, it'd still be good, right? So to me, it kind of makes sense to do these investments because it will last so long and keep my tanks running for years and years and years. So I don't have a lot of them, but there's been far too many around me. Yeah, you probably are. Where I am, I don't know why, but we seem to be plagued with forest fires the last many years. Every other year it seems to have a bad one, but c'est la vie. It's nice the rest of the year. What can you do? All right, guys, I think I'm going to call it so I can get a few things done while the sun is still shining. I do appreciate everyone hanging out today for the random reefing Q&A live stream. John Reef for Vermont, Fish Ventura, Chili Wheels Reef, Shelly, thank you guys for the super chat. I do much appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed this, as always, hit the like button. Quick question. All right, I'll get you. Are you willing to give video lectures at New York City inner schools as to how to build and create saltwater tanks? Well, I'm in Canada, so it'd definitely be a bit of a journey. I've been to New York, but it's been a little while. I don't know. Might require a couple plane tickets, but you never know. I don't know. Message me later. We can chat. But yeah, hopefully everyone has a wonderful week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Be sure to hit that like button. And yeah, next week we'll probably have some more fun guests on for some great topics.